Are you simply going along for the ride, or are you driving the car? Which do you think will take you where you want to go? You're listening to the Surging Forward podcast. Join me as we figure that out. Hello, and welcome to the Surging Forward broadcast, where we're helping you to have a positive view in a negative world. My name is David Valentine, and I'm here to help you see the value in the job you do and how you can keep surging forward. Well, hello again, and welcome to the Surging Forward podcast. This is Dave Ballantyne, and I am really happy to be back here again. I took a little bit of time off last week, and I was really kind of amazed. The episodes are still getting downloaded from all over. So, as usual, my friends, I just want to thank you for being out there in podcast land or radio land or whatever you call it, out on the internet. Pretty awesome. I just simply took some time off after Thanksgiving. That ends up being our time for decorating. And I had a lot of response from my apprentices. I put just a funny video up on the Facebook page and kind of goofing around. And, we actually put up like 13 trees in our house. No, I don't have a house the size of Bill Gates. It's just a small place, regular house. We just have small trees and big trees, and mostly one big tree, really. But just a lot of different themed trees. That's pretty much our big thing, but I didn't get anything out this year in the front yard, so it looks kind of barren for the first time in a lot of years, but just a lot of things going on, and I'm excited about sharing this. Our last episode number 68, where I talked about turning a negative into a positive, really got a lot of good response, and it really kind of hit home, I think, with a lot of y'all out there. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I would really encourage you to listen to that one, because believe it or not, that one actually did something for me. It was very encouraging for me with the stuff we're going through right now, but there's a lot of opportunities going on. I've actually going to be going overseas to actually inspect some equipment over there. It's a kind of an opportunity that kind of came my way. And it's one of those things that we're going to be talking about in this episode, where I'm simply going to talk about deal with it. Guys, we have to learn how to take advantage of an opportunity that's there. See, you don't want to be that guy that's constantly moping and groping like, oh, poor little old me. Well, not only do people not want to be around somebody like that, you don't even like being around yourself. So we're going to be talking about that today. So stay tuned. I think you're really going to like this episode. I've sat down and talked about it a little bit. And so I hope that you really get something out of it. And I'm looking forward to the feedback. And again, I really appreciate those of you that are sending me feedback. Please feel free to send me what you would like to have talked about, or troubles or problem you're having out in the trades, in the field. If you're not in the trades and you're listening to this podcast, well, again, welcome too. You'll get something out of this also, because this is a motivational leadership podcast to help people succeed, whether they have their own business, whether they're working on the day-to-day grind on their job, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're looking into going to business for yourself. Maybe you're working a great job and you just want to know how to move up the ladder. You see, all of these things that I talk about can apply to you, but you're the one that's going to have to take the step. All I can do is be a messenger and get them out there for you. So if this is your first time listening, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that you would subscribe to the show. For those of you that are listening and you want to recommend this to your friends, when you subscribe, believe me, it doesn't mean I get your email. It doesn't mean I'm going to contact you and talk to you. That's what's cool about this podcast. You can turn me off whenever you don't like what I'm hearing, what you're saying, or what you're saying or what I'm saying. Okay, I'm getting it backwards here. If you don't like what I'm saying, you could turn it off. But hopefully you don't do that, because I'm trying to portray a positive message. And a lot of people ask me, why are you doing this, Dave? I got that come through. A couple guys came up to me, and I've actually had a few people send me an email, and they thank me for, the message, because it kind of helped them think about a couple things. But I get asked the question all the time. It's like, Dave, why are you doing this? What does it cost? Well, it doesn't cost you anything. And all it costs me is time. You see, I have the equipment. I was blessed by my son. He provided me with a lot of this equipment here. And it was really a cool deal, because I do a lot of mentoring to my students and the people I know. And I just like trying to help people become successful. But now I'm reaching a whole broad around the world. And so it's amazing, the feedback. I never thought it was going to get this big. So why do I do it? Well, I'll give you a little secret, my friends. The reason I do it is because the more I can help you, the more it encourages and helps me. I've always believed in that servant leadership. You see, if I'm always looking out after myself, then that's the only person I'm helping, is me. But if I'm looking out for you, and I'm looking out for those around me, when I get bummed out and I have nothing left, guess what? I get encouraged by others. And those of you that have sent me emails encourage me a lot. And I just want to say thank you, because that's what it's about. So that's why I do it. I do it because I'm making a difference in somebody's life. And I think I am, because I hear it from you guys all the time, people out there in the trades working, because I know it's tough. I've been there. So all I'm trying to do is give my little words of encouragement by sharing some of the things I've done in my life to help you to keep surging forward. That's the crux of the name. I have came from the trades from the ground up. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the rewards. I felt the pride, the big pride, and being proud of having built something and being done with it, because I know how hard it was to do it. And unless someone has really worked with their hands and been in that grind, they never really fully understand what it takes to put something together. And so I have a lot of respect for those that work out there in the heat and the cold, and they never get any gratitude. Well, if you don't hear from anybody else, you're going to hear it from me. Thank you for a job well done. You guys are working hard out there, men and women. A lot of women in the trades, and there's a lot of opportunities for women. And if you know somebody, give them an encouragement, because women can make a difference in this trade also. There's a lot of hardworking women out there that are doing a fantastic job. So let me get on with what I want to talk about today. If you looked on the caption that I had for this podcast, if you happen to see the picture, I always try to do a picture. And keep in mind, all of these quotes that are on there, these are not someone else's quotes. Now, if I put the name down of someone else's quotes, that was quoted by someone else. I always will. If I quote somebody, I'm going to give their name, not only for copyright or trademark reasons, because that's the right thing to do. But all of these quotes are things that I've used in the past, and it's things that I use to keep myself encouraged. These are quotes from old Dave Ballantyne. Feel free to use them if you like. But if you just attribute them to me, that would be great. But, on the caption today, I was thinking about really what to say. And I knew the podcast I want to talk about, because I'm kind of continuing on from last week about turning a negative into a positive. Life happens. We get laid off from work. You're going to get, if you're in the construction field and you've been here for a long time and you've never, ever been laid off, more than likely, the odds are you will. And if you're in the trades for 20, 30 years and you've never been laid off, you're very, very fortunate. Because what ends up happening, a lot of times, it's construction, guys. We work ourselves out of a job. That's pretty much what we do. If you think about that, that's really kind of tough. So, what's the option? Should we just slow down so we make the job last longer? Well, no, because then the contractor doesn't make any money. And if your boss isn't making money, he doesn't need you. But if he doesn't have the work, he doesn't need you either. So It's kind of a rough deal there. And if for those of you that are in business, kind of understand that. Those of you that have never had a business, you don't quite understand that. You figure, wow, I deserve to work. Well, we're going to be talking about that today. But what I wanted to bring up, you should always be planning your future so you can deal with the unexpected turns in life. So what does that mean? You should always be planning. You should never get to a point where you're at the status quo where you just say, okay, I've arrived. See, once you get to that point, that's when life is just going to yank the rug out from underneath you and you're going to be free falling. You see, we talk about safety all the time on the job site. Be alert, be prepared, look around, what's going on. Well, you have to do that in your career also. You have to always be looking for that opportunity. You see, when you're working in the trades, some of you guys that are listening, you may be at different levels of your career. Now, some of you guys are just starting out. You're not even sure how the game works in the construction field. Matter of fact, you're not even aware there is a game. Well, my friends, let me tell you, there is a game. And you need to understand the rules. There's times to ask questions, and there's times where you just keep your mouth shut and do the job. I mean, I know I'm being blunt, but I'm being real. I said that about 1 million times. I listened to last week's podcast, and I didn't realize how many times I said, being real, man, being real, being real. It's like, I was almost laughing when I drove up to D.C. the other week, and I listened to my podcast, and I do listen to my podcast every so often, excuse me, just to hear how I sound. And, it wasn't a bad podcast, but I couldn't believe how many times I said that. But, when you're just starting out, you really don't know how to play the game. So sometimes you have to just sit back and you have to listen. So what does that mean when I say you have to listen? Basically what that means is that you're going to have to kind of watch. Don't put yourself out there and make yourself so vulnerable to where they're just going to, people are just going to give you a hard time or they don't want to talk to you. And by sure, don't walk around and act like a know-it-all. And because nobody wants a know-all around them, because everybody thinks that they know a lot anyway and they don't want to be intimidated. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but you don't want to ever put anybody back in a corner because otherwise, people are going to get defensive. So just sit back and figure out the rules first. Then you got those that have been around a while and they're trying to make a mark on the world or on the construction field, or they want to be noticed in the field. They're just trying to vie for that position. Some are doing it the wrong way. Some are doing it the right way. Some feel like that if they tear down somebody else, they can elevate themselves. But I'm going to tell you, that doesn't work. After a while, you're going to get busted. But the thing is, there's going to be a wake of damage that you've done and your reputation is going to be ruined. So, that's not the way to go either. Then you got those who are seasons in the trade. They have the self-confidence based on experience. But maybe they don't always relate well to other people because they feel like, wow, since I worked hard for it, you need to work hard as I have for it. And so I'm not going to show you anything. You just have to learn to come up the field like I did. That's not always a good way either. But, and then there's everything in between all of those. Now, for those that are continuing to grow, we're looking at new things. Each of these things come different challenges in our life. And each of these stages have some things in common. But the first two are really the ones that are making a difference. And they're looking out for what I like to call looking into the future. Where the middle two, where the ones that are just, they've been around for a while and they're trying to make a name for themselves so they'll be noticed in the field. Or they're seasoned in the trades and they have self-confidence with experience, but they don't relate very well to others. And they're trying to hoard the information because they're afraid that somebody's going to take their job. Those two right there in the middle, they're looking out for themselves and themselves only. Now, you do have to look out for yourself. And I know it sounds like an oxymoron I'm talking here because nobody else is going to be looking out for you. Now, I talk servant leadership, how you should be looking out for others. At the same time, do not expect other people to look out for you, my friends. It's not going to happen. Somebody's not just going to walk up to you and say, hey, here's an opportunity. Come on over here, Joe. You're the most fantastic guy in the world. Here's $1,000. while that may happen, I've heard stories of it happen. It ain't never happened to me. And it probably ain't going to happen to you. So, what I'm saying is, yes, you have to serve others, but you don't expect it all the way back. But here's what you can do for yourself. And here's what you should be looking for yourself. The first two, the guy starting out, and he's not sure how things are done in the construction world, he needs to learn how to watch and listen and understand the game. What's he doing? He's preparing for what he needs to do in the future. The other one, they're continuing to grow and learn things, or learn some of the new things, and even going to training that's not even related to their industry. They're continuing to grow so that when the opportunity does come, they're ready for that opportunity. You see, those first two, if you're always keeping yourself open and you're constantly looking for ways to learn something new, I challenge you. Try to learn 2 or 3 new things a week. Better yet, learn something new every day. Whether it's how a person acts, or it's learning how to read your boss, whether it's learning how to plan ahead for your mechanic so that you can have the right tool in place for them. All those things that you learn creates experience, and it creates that desire to continue to learn, to go to the next level. You see, it has to be a constant deal. You're always learning new things. I told you my story before about when I got laid off. I mean, man, that was devastating. You see, I could have sat in that rut, like I said in the last podcast. I could have sat in that rut and just said, hey, I'll collect my unemployment and sit there and collect that measly $75 and just sit home and forget it and just be bummed out. No, I went out and I applied what I knew, which wasn't much at that time, but it continued to grow over time. It's like the law of 72. And if you don't know what the law of 72 is, it talks about compound interest, how when you put your money in, every 72 months it'll double, and so forth and so on. And, I'm not talking economics here, but if you continue to put in, yes, it's hard, but your knowledge will continue to double and grow. And before you know it, you find yourself on the other side of the fence. And it's something I've had a hard time with. People ask me constantly, wow, how do you know what you know? Wow, you seem very smart. My friends, I am not that smart. There are people a whole lot smarter than me. A whole lot smarter than me. And I have a lot of respect for those people. And that's the kind of people I try to hang around with. But they'll tell me the same thing. Dave, I'm not that smart. There's a whole lot more people smarter than me. And I go, wow, how can that be? That's called humility. That's called constantly trying to seek knowledge. You never get to that point where you arrive. You always want to be learning how to play the game. And I'm talking the game of life, to where you're always ready. So if you do get laid off of your job or you lose your job, it's not a life-dealing blow. You have enough confidence in yourself to say, fine, no problem. All this is doing is creating another opportunity for me to get that better job, because I got too comfortable maybe in this job and I didn't go look for another job. See what I mean? That's how we take that negative and turning it into a positive so that you can always keep surging forward. You see, that's what I was talking about. You take that layoff and you turn it to a positive. You see, most people are going to see that as a negative. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a pessimist and walk around saying, well, the glass is half full, and just accept things. No, you're not accepting them. Quite the contrary. I'm not even saying that you got to be what the so-called optimists say and say the glass is half full. Both of these statements, really, they're just the feel-good statements. So I'm either feeling negative or I'm feeling positive, but you got no real action. Gotta love my English there. And if my wife is listening to this and she edits it, I know I'm going to hear about it. But I'm getting ready to say it again. I'm just being real. But there's no real action in that. I like to say I'm a realist. Let's go out and talk about reality. I don't want to create a feel-good, positive attitude. Because good grief, it's not real cool if I got a real good positive attitude and somebody hits me in the face. Well, I don't feel so positive right now. I just lost my job. No, we got to take action. You want to fill that cup back up to the brim. I don't want it half full. So I don't have to sit there and decide whether I'm negative or positive. I want my cup full up to the brim. When it starts going down at all, I want to learn something new. I want to go listen to another podcast. I want to get some, someone to tell me something to learn. I want to learn how to build a website. What's that got to do with construction, Dave? What's it got to do with the trades? Well, you know what? Funny you asked that. I asked myself that same question about 6 years ago when I started Surging Forward. Amazing. You learn something new. This is done by learning what you can do. You can control. You have to know what you can control in your life and what you cannot control in your life. What you can control in your life are things that you do. What you can't control in life are things that other people do. Okay? That is something, that is a key point you have to understand. If you can control it and things are not going right, then change it. If you're a foreman and there's problems on your job site, change it. Don't let it keep going. Don't allow problems to exist. Fix it. That's your job. For example, if you find yourself in a situation in your job where you don't have the answer or how to get it, go read a book. Go read a book about anger management. Go read a book about how to solve conflict. For Pete's sakes, you could just be easier and just go Google it. Okay? Whatever. Go ask somebody for help. Send me an email. Just send Dave Ballantyne an email to Surging Forward and ask me the question. If I don't know, I'll tell you. I don't know. But here's some ideas what you can go look at it. Use what you have to go get the answer. Don't wait for somebody to give you the answer. Just go do it. Now, if you're in a situation where somebody does something that you don't like and you have no real control over it, this person, perhaps they change the whole way that business is going to be doing and you have to write your reports at work a total different way. Well, guess what? You don't have any control over that. You have no control over it all. So you just have to accept it, move on, and either do it or quit. That's the only thing you can do. You can offer a suggestion. When you have a problem at work and you have to deal with your boss and you don't like your foreman, he might be the worst guy in the world. But my friends, in all these cases, whether it's something you can make a difference in or something you can't make a difference in, deal with it. I know it sounds harsh, but you have to decide if you can change it, change it. If you can't, deal with it. When your boss makes a decision that you don't like, offer up a suggestion. Well, I really feel like blah, blah, blah. Well, no, this is the way we're doing it. Okay, you're done. Handle it. Do it. Or quit. That's where your confidence level comes in, my friends. Have I ever quit a job? That's a story for another time. And yes, I have quit a job. I've came home and told my wife, at least on more than one occasion, honey, I'm done. And yes, I did give it 2 weeks notice, just like I talked about in one of the past episodes. Now, it doesn't mean I always stayed there for the full 2 weeks. A lot of times they keep me there for a day or two and then they say, okay, bye, which is fine with me. But I already had something lined up because there were things going on in the company or the job or whatever it was that I did not like. So I started making a change and I would go out and look at things. So again, I know it sounds tough. I know it sounds harsh, but that's what we have to do. You see, if you want to be successful, all right, you need to figure out what has to happen for you to move ahead in your job or even your business. What's it going to take to get it done? And do you have control over that situation? You either have control or you don't have control. You may have to ask somebody for help. Okay? You may have to go up and send an email to somebody. You may have to Google it. You may have to ask your project manager, hey, I don't understand something. I need you to show me. If he refuses to show you, don't just give up and quit. My God, we got the internet. We got all kinds of cool things now. Go get the information. You can research it online. You could take a course at Surging Forward. I have courses there. Online. There's a ton of other places that have online courses. There's Udemy sites. I'm getting ready to put some courses on Udemy. Check that out. There's a ton of courses. What do you want to learn? It's there. Management, all kinds of stuff. If you are not always trying to keep your glass half full, then you're missing opportunities. No, I'm sorry. I may take that back. I missed up. Not half full. You should always be keeping your glass full. Otherwise, you're going to miss an opportunity. It's not half full. You should always be keeping your glass full. Forget the half full. Is the glass half full or is it half empty? Forget that. That's just a feel-good feeling, guys and women. You should always be trying to keep your glass full, and it should be overflowing. Because if your glass is overflowing, guess what? You're making a difference with people around you. And when you're making a difference with people around you, that's when you're influencing others in a positive way. Don't allow circumstances or other people to influence you in that negative way. Neither of you can make choices for somebody else. You can only decide to make a choice about you. I cannot make you tell somebody about this podcast. As much as I would love for each and every one of you, you know what? I've had over 5,000 downloads now. That's a cool thing. I'm happy with that. But if each one of you went and told somebody about this podcast, I'd be at 10,000 downloads in less than a month. Would I love that? Absolutely. But I cannot make any of you out there tell anybody about anything. I can't make anybody on my job site do anything. Even if I'm in charge, even if they're my boss, I can threaten them all day long, but I'm not going to make them do anything. You can only choose what you want to do. But if you allow that negative stuff to bring you down, you allow somebody else's decisions over you, you're going to start going into a panic mode. You're going to stop growing, and then you don't want to learn anything, and you're just going to be that negative person all the way around you. Or you can always be learning, and as your cup overflows and the water overflows around you, you start making a positive influence around others, and those negative people start saying, wow, there's a difference here, and you start learning how to get the job done, then all of a sudden opportunities start coming your way. And it's opportunities you may not have even seen before. So take advantage of as much training as possible. Then when the so-called tough times come around, you're ready to take advantage of that. One quick analogy before we get ready to wrap up here. When you look at the stock market, I always like to give a parable of something to compare physically. People panic with the stock market. Okay? Starts going down. Boom, people freak out. They start taking all their money out of the system and they're going nuts. Well, guess what? Whenever you sell a stock, no matter how bad, somebody's got to buy it before you can get rid of it. So when the stock market's on its way down, for every person going into panic mode and selling, somebody's buying it. Think about that. So all of a sudden the stocks start going up, and everybody's like, wow, stocks are going up. Now they're buying high. Guess what? Somebody's selling it high and making money. So think about that for a minute. Let that sink in reality. What's really going on here? The person that's panicked and selling, he thinks he's doing a good thing by selling, when maybe in actuality, he should have been buying. And when it's going up, maybe he should have been selling instead of buying. You don't want to buy high and sell low. You want to buy low and sell high. That's how you make money. So as I always say, what are your dreams and aspirations? The trades give us all kinds of roads that can be traveled, all kind of ways for success. You can start your own business. You can run your own business. Or you can simply grow in a company that you want to work for and not be in the daily grind. Being happy where you work. Being happy that you're a valuable employee wherever you work at. It doesn't even have to be the trades. What will you do Are you going to allow life to just roll the dice? Or will you simply say, I will deal with it. I'll handle it. I'll pick up that dice and I'll put them on the number that I want to be on. Remember to always be planning your future so you can deal with the unexpected turns in life. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to leave me a comment or a review on iTunes, or you can check out the website at www.surgingforwardpodcast.com. If you're looking to start your own business, let me know. Drop me an email. We have courses that can help you to start them in your state that gives you the laws that are needed. You can, if you need your CEUs or for your license renewal, check us out at www.surgingforward.com. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And again, thank you for all your encouragement as we're all on that same journey to keep surging forward. Until next week, my friends, have a great and fantastic week. God bless. Take it easy.